Good morning and howdy. I believe I'm the last long talk before your next coffee break, so I'll try and go relatively quickly. I have a talk today, some slides just celebrating the 20th Google Summer of Code and the work and impact therein. So first, an introduction. Before I get to this slide, I do have a question. Because I never really know when I'm talking to an open source audience how many people have been actually working with Google Summer of Code already. Who has been a contributor of Google Summer of Code? Just a show of hands, maybe keep those hands up. And who has been a mentor with Google Summer of Code? A few more hands. Both hands are up. And who is in an open source org that has benefited from Google Summer of Code? Quite a few more. Okay. But for many of you, this is going to be relatively new, which is cool. I'd love to introduce you to the Google Summer of Code. Long ago, 20 years ago or so, is when I'm thinking I found getting into open source to be really hard. But getting people continuously into open source is critical for the ecosystem. As a potential contributor, I might have been interested but not know where to start, or I might have been intimidated. If I had an open source project, there weren't a lot of avenues for finding new contributors. We needed something that offered mentorship and a structured way to learn while working on large code bases. Something that would allow participants to learn from mentors, become part of the community, and build their resumes. Something that was a low barrier to entry into open source with a welcoming community. Enter Google Summer of Code. In 2005, we launched the Google Summer of Code. And the original idea for GSoC was actually Larry Page wanted to help students stay programming over the summer so they didn't get rusty. But it quickly snowballed into a mentoring program to keep the open source ecosystem thriving with an influx of new contributors. And it's a 12-week program with structured mentorship that really connects developers with the open source ecosystem. Now, it's good for participants because it empowers developers with meaningful roles in open source, gives them hands-on experience in real-world software development, and the opportunity to learn from open source developers and grow their skills. It's also good for participating organizations and the open source ecosystem at large. Over 20,000 mentors from 138 countries have participated, bringing new contributors and creating community between organizations. Many contributors continue engaging in their new communities after the program, becoming active members and sometimes maintainers, like the gentleman with both hands earlier. Together, this fosters collaboration, mentorship, and skill development. Empowering individuals and strengthening the open source ecosystem. After all, open source is really more about the people than it is the code that they write. A really strong open source ecosystem is strong contributors, is strong maintainers, and the strong community around them. And that's what GSoC does. And we started out with 200 contributors from 51 countries, which seemed like a lot. But fast forward 20 years, and for the contributors, 21,000 from 123 countries that we've brought into the open source community. With the numbers like these, GSoC really does have a global impact and has contributed over 43 million lines of code to over 1,000 open source organizations. Now, these numbers are great. They really give you a sense of the overall scale and impact of the program. But remember what I said earlier, open source is really about the people. So let's also look at a few individual stories. This is Angie Byron. She spent years as what she refers to as a spectator, thinking she wasn't good enough to contribute. Now, she discovered GSoC and saw it as a pathway to contribute since it acknowledged participants as students still learning. She contributed to Drupal through GSoC, learned essential skills like version control, and tackled challenges with the support of a mentor. And after GSoC, she had multiple job offers. She became engaged in the Drupal community and eventually became a core committer. And when she talks about open source, she mentions that some of the key learnings for her were, a scroll on the speaker notes here, I want to get these right. Yeah, there are 4 things. Don't let imposter syndrome hold you back. Ask for help. Most communities are supportive. Document your work and help yourself and others. And prioritize self-care. I think those are really smart. This is Jigyasa Grover, a machine learning specialist. Now, during her first year of university, she discovered Faro and became interested in open source. And she's done GSoC 2 different years, first primarily on mobile and web app development, and the second year she was introduced to the world of machine learning. She enjoyed ML so much, she took courses on it and got additional internships at the National Research Council of Canada, Institute Research and Development in France, and went on to get her master's in AI and ML from UC San Diego. Then she went on to build personalization and monetization algorithms for social web apps such as X and Facebook. And now she's leading Gen AI efforts at a startup. She's a published author. I'm going to maybe scroll the speaker notes here too. Thank you. She's a published author, I want to get these right, a 10 times award winner in AI and open source, and was recently named one of the most powerful women of technology to follow in 2023. She helps developers through platforms such as Women Tech Makers, Google Developer Experts, and was also a mentor in both GSoC and Google Code-In. How about the speaker notes for this one, too? No, I think it's the next slide on the confidence monitor here. I'll just bring out my notes. All right, so fun fact. Did you know that the 2024 American Physical Society Fellows, one of them was Dr. Sergey Glazer. Oh, yeah, that's the right one. Yeah, Dr. Sergey Glazer, and he was also part of the Google Summer of Code. Now, Sergey has helped 3 open source communities get their start on GSoC. First with CERN HSF, then Machine Learning for Science, and most recently, Human AI. Now, over the past 2 years, about 10 research papers have been published, driven entirely by GSoC projects at Machine Learning for Science. Now, one of the most remarkable achievements, this one's really cool, was the discovery of an exoplanet using machine learning techniques by GSoC contributor Jason Terry. Now, the work was also published in the Astrophysics Journal, which was the first time that a scientific discovery was independently made by a machine learning algorithm and then confirmed by human experts. The work of this community is really incredible, and it's humbling. It's awesome for us to be stewards of this program. This photo is from our recent GSoC Mentor Summit, where we brought together 200 of this year's mentors from 130 open source projects to collaborate and discuss current open source trends, pain points, and for the community to learn from one another. Now, these people are what make GSoC what it is year over year. We're proud of how GSoC has become a model of mentorship across the open source ecosystem, how GSoC aims to reflect the open source philosophy of collaboration, modification, and learning, and how it's inspired similar programs like Outreachy, designed to bring more diversity into open source communities. Now, normally at the end of a presentation like this, I'd have some sort of call to action, some link you'd click so that we could track conversions, and I'm not going to do that today. We're just celebrating GSoC. Besides, I'm sure that you would all agree, cake is better than conversions, and so we have a cake. All that cool stuff all the GSoC people did, and the clap line was the cake. It's fine. We've actually got some cupcakes for all of you as we honor the GSoC participants and their contributions over the years in our GSoC community lounge on the 3rd floor of the conference venue. I hope that you'll join us there, have some cake, and talk about open source. Let's continue building and contributing to the world of open source together. Thank you so much.